The only real God is the one that you believe in. Start looking for the God in others. And if you find you're tuning into a wave, well then I don't know much about the insane.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, friends.
Welcome into another episode of Spiritual Philosophy Chatter with the Joneses. I'm Danny Jones.
And I am Samantha Jones.
And here we are, episode 72.
72.
What is our topic?
This is the deadly sins, pride and greed.
Pride and greed. All right. Cool. Well, before we hop into that one, anything about from last week?
Yeah, last week we did ego, which is kind of the reason that I wanted to do this series. We had talked about it a little bit, what to do next, and we have a couple of really good suggestions from our listeners that we will get to. So if you've sent your suggestions, and know that we will get there.
Cool.
But this kind of seemed to fit in well after the ego episode because we're talking about a lot of things that do involve the ego that are affected by it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to explain a little bit about why we're doing this episode and how we're going to do it. We're going to do 3 different episodes in the series.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Very good.
So that's from last week, but there's a couple other things that I wanted to talk about. I was on Facebook earlier in the week and came across a post from the co-owner of our podcasting host, Buzzsprout. And I'm going to read to you what he said because I was a little bit surprised by these numbers, but he says, if your podcast has received 65 or more downloads in the last 30 days, you are in the top 50% of Buzzsprout podcasts by downloads. Okay, so what I did is I figured out our number because he's gone into it with other people and explained, and we are within 6 or 7% of the top podcasts on Buzzsprout.
Very good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Hey, us.
Bravo.
Thank you to everybody that listens.
Yeah,
because our show is really, it's taking off, and it's so much fun to watch that happen.
Yeah.
And to be able to interact with a lot more people now. I'm getting a lot of different messages and doing readings for listeners, and listeners are turning into clients and vice versa, and it's really a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I just want everybody to know how grateful we are for that.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. And we're going to keep working to make it even higher. He said that to be in the top 1%, you have to have 15,000 listens in a 30-day period, which we don't have that.
Right.
But,
no.
We're 6 to 7%, and that's amazing as it is.
I would take any number, but that's flattering.
Yeah,
that's
it's very
nice.
flattering. Yeah.
Cool.
So I just wanted to share that with our listeners.
Great. That's good news. Thanks.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Is that it for
That's all I got.
your recap?
That's the recap.
Cool. Well, let's hop into episode 72 then.
72.
The deadly sins, pride and greed.
Pride and greed. So, like I said, we're going to split this up into 3 different episodes. So this week we're going to do pride and greed. Next week we're going to do wrath and envy. And week 3 we're going to do gluttony, sloth, and lust. And this was put together by our listeners. We asked the people in our discussion group which topics interested them the most, and then we went in that order.
Yeah, it was clever. It was cool.
Yeah, I really have enjoyed this. I don't want anybody to think that we're taking a religious standpoint in this. That's not what this is about, because for us, and I guess for our beliefs, these are not deadly sins. These are human issues.
Yeah, I mean, we gave it that title because that's what most of us know it by.
Right.
But these are human attributes.
Yes, they really are.
It comes with being a human, and it can guide you and it can hurt you. So.
Yeah, and doing this research, even like I only did obviously the pride and greed, but I did read a couple of other things, and it's like not only do we all deal with these things, but I really think we deal with every single one of them on a daily basis.
Oh, I would say a good majority of people do, yeah.
Yeah, which would make, if you're going to say that these are deadly sins, then, everybody's going to hell.
Yeah.
And that's not how it works. Yeah, for sure. These are not sins. So we want to take this more from a standpoint of how can we help can we fix these things within ourselves so that we don't have to battle them in our lives? Because it does take a lot of energy to battle these issues.
Right.
So finding solutions to...
First and foremost is, are we even aware of them?
That is very true, because doing some of the research, there were a couple of things that, like, these articles said that I'm sitting here going, I'm not greedy. And then I read things and I'm like, yeah, I do that. And it's humbling, which is a part of pride. It is. It's eye-opening to see that, yeah, I'm still human and I have to battle these things every day, whether I think I do or not.
That's part of the lesson of being here.
Right.
And even it's a daily gift and it's a daily challenge.
Yeah.
I mean, that every day you wake up, it is a gift, but it's also a challenge.
It is. It's how you react to situations. I think you can take a lot of these different things and if you have a situation that you might react off of, like, I mean, we can't always give to a homeless person or whatever, but if you are walking by a homeless person and you don't give them money, but you're eating your sandwich and talking on your cell phone, there is a greed behind that. Even if, you know what I mean? That's...
Yeah, I could see that point, yeah.
Yeah. It's not that you have to share with everybody, but, it's about what you do with it, I think, on a normal basis, too.
Yeah.
Not just, So anyways, let's talk about pride first. And the reason that I want to talk about this is because it is the number one thing that our listeners wanted to talk about. But also because this is the starting point, and it's considered to be the original and worst of the sins, quote unquote.
Pride.
Because everything stems from the pride. Let's see.
The ego stems from the pride.
Exactly. So let's see. It really involves a distortion of reality at high levels. So you can have any kind of level of pride, maybe but some of these things they can get pretty extreme. It says, like, in extreme cases, a person believes that they are superior and more important than others and fails to acknowledge others.
Right.
People with a lot of ego problems are also dangerously corrupt and selfish. They put their needs first, excessive admiration of their own image. These are all things that you find under pride.
Yeah. You know what's funny about that word, just in general, the context that we use it in this way. And then, like, you take, instance, a pride of lions. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Yeah.
That word is almost the opposite for us.
Right.
We individualize it.
Right.
We use it in that reference to mean a family. Mm-hmm. That everybody's looking out for one another and protecting one another.
Right.
We look at it as it's our own little personal bubble.
Right.
That we use to protect ourselves.
That's right.
Along with our ego, which can really inflate quickly.
Yeah. There was a point in this last week that we were talking about something, and I said to you, that's your ego talking, because we had just done the episode, so it was like fresh on my mind. Mm-hmm. And you said, no, it's not. And I said, you know what? It's not your ego. It's pride.
It's pride.
It is. It's no matter how small the situation may be, there's always such where we fight it with pride. Right. It's just who we are. We're human. We can't help that sometimes, I found this interesting. One of the articles that I read said that pride is a gateway sin, so it leads to the other sins.
Oh, no.
I thought that was so funny. I'm like, oh, it's like a gateway drug. Okay, I get it.
It all starts with pride, kids.
Don't fall for the pride.
Here's your brain on pride, kids.
Something else interesting that it said was, this is the devil's most prominent state. So, okay, we don't really believe that there's a devil or a hell. Mm-mm. We really believe that this is kind of hell where we are. This is like the worst it gets, okay? So this devil of pride, it makes sense. That's the devil itself. Like, how do I explain this? The devil is our ego. The devil is what makes us do these things, but it's within us. It's not some separate entity that's, it's within us.
Yeah, I think biblically it was sort of mistranslated in that sense that it's an energy. If we are all energy, then that would mean that the devil, if you want to give it that name, is energy.
Right.
And that energy lurks everywhere, just like positive energy lurks, like from the Creator and God. So that also is within us, the good energy, because we are extensions of God.
Right.
But there is negative energy, okay? That isn't necessarily of God, but there has to be a balance in the universe. There has to be good and bad.
Right.
This is how we learn.
Yeah.
But is the bad really this entity? I don't believe that. No.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't believe it for a second. So I believe that is sometimes a crutch we lean on to blame something else for our own actions.
Yeah, absolutely. And we don't even realize that we're doing it most of the time. That's something with a lot of these that really you don't, because I think it's kind of bred into us. If we're just taught that this is the natural way that people react, or we're hurt by things, like a lot of people lose trust in situations that they've been in, maybe as a child or whatever, and so then they grow up to have some of these other issues because they're trying to fight
and
what
not
they
one
know,
person and exactly not one person that you've ever connected with, be it animals, human, or whatever, is ever contacted you or communicated with you from the other side being hell.
No. Okay. Oh no, quite the contrary.
Not one of them ever says it's true that exists. They actually, on the contrary, say the opposite.
Right.
And it doesn't make sense. This is another reason why I believe this, is because it doesn't make sense for me to go, well, if I'm an extension of God, I'm a piece of him, why would he want to put himself into some sort of fiery lake for eternity when you don't have a physical body that could actually even feel heat or fire or burn or anything? It's all a game in your mind.
Yep.
It's your perception. So if you're expecting by the things you've done in your life to end up in a fiery lake, well, then when you die, you're probably going to sit there for a minute and see that. And you'll probably go, uh-oh. And then somebody's going to tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, ding dong, are you ready to leave? Because this is boring.
Yeah. Can we move on now?
We have work to do.
When I do my research, I do it from a lot of different angles. I want to know, like, clinical. I want to know religious. I want to know spiritual. So I visited this one site called deadlysins.com. And this is actually what they said the punishment in hell is for greed. But you're talking about this, so I want to read it now. How they know what the punishment is for greed in hell, I don't know. But this is what they say happens. It says, you will be boiled alive in oil. Wait, there's more. Not just any oil, the finest, most luxurious oil money can buy. If you think I'm lying about this, go to deadlysins.com and look up greed.
That's ridiculous. That's my opinion. I'm sorry. I think it's ridiculous.
Well, first of all, you can't be boiled alive because you're already dead.
Yes.
What are you going to boil, a soul?
Yeah.
It's not physical. You can't boil something that's not physical.
No.
I'll take my
And again, I mean, none of us really know because we haven't seen it with our own, third eye when we get over there. But I go off a lot of just how I honestly believe, and a lot of the things that I've got to be a part of in your life and witness, especially with your mom, and being able to kind of directly connect with her and talk to her and ask a lot of these questions.
Yeah.
Myself.
Yeah.
Because I want to know. I really do. And yeah, a lot of people might be like, oh, okay, so you contacted a spirit and they told you, so now you believe. Well, yeah. I've heard enough that,
One of the things...
That's the truth.
Right. Well, one of the things about when we do things like that, when we contact my mom and we have those kinds of sessions, is usually we will find... it will find us actually is the proof that what they're telling us is true.
Right.
And that's coming from other mediums and other spiritual leaders or whatever. And this is information we'll run across later and be like, that's exactly what Mom said.
Yeah.
I am not this creative. I could not come up with all of this stuff.
No.
I will tell you that.
And it's not just solely just based off your mother.
Right.
She's a lot of it, but there's others
There's
that I'm able to connect with through you. My ex-mother-in-law, ex-brother-in-law, my family members, a lot of people, bandmates. Thank you, forgot that. Just a lot of people that are able to say the same thing,
right?
And then getting that confirmation then through other people like Thomas John.
Right, exactly.
And sitting in the same room with you and sort of going, oh yeah, this isn't baloney.
Sense.
It's really around us. We just can't see it. So that's where I have to solely rely on the faith.
Yes.
And going, the more and more you start to think about those things, it doesn't add up for you.
No.
That you're going to boil in oil and you're going to be in a fiery lake. And no. Just doesn't.
I think it's important to point out that these things that we talk about, the pride, greed, and the rest of the series, these are not things that spirits have, but they are also not things that spirits necessarily frown upon. Mm-hmm. And the reason why is because these different things are how we learn, but they're also not judging us. They're not judgmental. Like, I'll do some stupid things, and I'll say some stupid things. When I get mad, I'll get mad at my mom, and I'll say things. I'm not going to lie.
Honestly, that's probably one of the main things they're most envious of us being in two different dimensional things is our emotions.
Right, exactly.
They don't have those.
They don't, My mom is just the same kind of, there's only a certain low that they go. And so when I freak out like that and she's just so calm and so reassuring, it's like, the hell is going on here? But that's how they are. Yeah. We just don't get it because as humans, we're like, how can anything react like this? Mm-hmm. But my mom has this way of calming me down and taking me out of a panic attack. Yeah. If I let her, because that's how their energy is. That's how pure it is. Right. They're not interested in any of this. They're not interested in judging any of us, because when you judge somebody, that's also using some of these things. That's pride. There's a whole bunch of things that come with being judgmental. Right. And spirits are not that.
No.
I get a lot of people that I do readings for that when I tell them how their family member is reacting or responding to the questions that they're asking, they don't understand how their family member or friend can be so calm. They at first may not even believe that I've actually connected to that spirit, and I'll give a lot of proof that I am, just so they know that this is how they are now. Yeah. Even my mom was not like she is now anything like this.
No, it's so much. It's all what we wish we could be here. Yeah. And that is patient, loving, compassionate, logical, and reasonable. Right. It's like all there.
I think it is illogical for us to think that we can be on their level. I don't know that there's a human alive that is on their level, because we are human and we do have those thoughts. I don't think, would I love to be on their level? Yeah. Will I ever be? Not until I get there. I can't imagine, because they are so pure and... Yeah. It's a different energy. But that's the way it's supposed to be. If this was heaven, then what's that?
Right. Well, and maybe somebody comes along, Again, maybe it could be the second coming of Christ. Maybe it could be somebody else. Right. Mother Teresa, Buddha. Right. Any type of kind of figure in the world that could set that example. Right. And show people that you might think as a society this is impossible. But it is not impossible. Yeah. So, and will that person be a martyr all over again, because of what they're standing for? That's possible. But maybe as history repeats itself, right, and it often does, that will happen again to show humanity there is a way. Right.
People that are put here as martyrs, they're put here for that. And I really believe that they understand that. Like, Jesus knew what he was here for. Absolutely. Mother Teresa, I believe she knew what she was here for. Gandhi, all of them, they knew what they're here for. I know I'm here to be a martyr to a certain extent. I work for myself. I want to have the life that I want to have and all that. But really, at the end of the day, I work for the universe. I'm here to be a light worker, and I'm here to do good, and that's what comes first.
Right.
So I am somewhat of a martyr, so I understand that.
Yeah,
and,
I mean, we're like trying to be a worker for humanity and the world, the earth.
Yeah, and whatever that means and however we have to show that is how we have to do it.
Yeah.
You know, and that can be difficult. Just like all these other people, it's difficult. It's hard to put your pride aside.
Yeah.
You know, here's a good story. Yesterday, I took our daughter to get her hair cut. And this lady is doing the haircuts out of her house because our salons aren't open here.
Right.
So this was the first time that we had met her, and she did a great job on Marina's hair.
It's adorable. I love it.
Yeah. And so I went to pay her, and I went to pay her through Venmo, and she wasn't really familiar with Venmo. And so I was explaining it to her. I said, a lot of my clients pay me this way. They really like it. And she said, oh, yeah, what do you do? And this is probably the first time I've actually had to answer this question since I retired from pet sitting. And it was very difficult.
Yeah.
And we had talked about it. And I said I was going to tell people that I was a spiritual counselor because I felt that it fit into everything that I do, you know? Yeah. So when I went to say that to her, that's not what came out of my mouth. Of course, I'm a little bit socially awkward to begin with. So what came out of my mouth was, I do psychic work. Oh.
But that's true, too. And then you have to look at, there's a reason maybe that's why that came out.
Right.
You know, instead of the other. But I get it.
But you were right. When we talked about this, I can't remember last night or this morning, you were right. The reason that came out of my mouth, even though it came out the wrong way, is that is, in essence, what I am. And trying to cover it up isn't going to get me anywhere anymore. I can't cover up what I do.
No, and we're in an age where you're not the only person out there doing psychic work.
No, for sure.
There's a lot of people, and this is part of it. This is part of coming out and saying, hey.
Right.
This is what I do. Take it or leave it. You know what?
Right.
If you don't like it, you can stay on your side of the street.
Right.
I'll stay on my side of the street. There's a difference in being proud, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And pushing your pride in an egotistical way.
Right.
So you don't come off like that to me. I mean...
No, there was no ego there.
It's somewhat scary to be really proud of what it is that you do.
Yeah.
In fear of judgment.
I was
by your peers.
Very fearful of judgment, and I'm trying not to, like, it's something you can see. This is my pride. This is, I need to try and get away from this, but this is a perfect example.
Right.
Is that her reaction was, oh. And I looked at Marina and I'm like, oh no.
That's great. I love it.
So I actually messaged her last night a thank you and a picture of Marina that we took, that she looked so cute with the haircut. And I said, I would love if you would be willing to cut my hair as well. And I haven't heard back from her yet. And this is the thing. She was very slow to text back, so she may.
Right.
But this is where things get weird, is that then you start to wonder, well, was that too much? Is that, she didn't like that. But if that's the case, if she's not going to cut my hair because I'm a psychic, unfortunately, it's who I am. And it would be, I'm not comparing myself to being gay or black or anything. Please don't think that. But it would be kind of the same thing, that if you're going to judge me for that, I have to learn to put my pride aside and just say, it's okay.
Yeah, because see, immediately the ego's there as your defense mechanism. So it wants to jump in front and sort of like, hey, man, leave her alone.
Yeah.
All right, we're all cool here.
Yeah.
Like, and I get it. It's partly there for a reason to protect us, but it can quickly go beyond that.
Yeah.
And not that you have even taken it there at all. I mean,
yeah.
In a way, you were putting that person's feelings first.
Yes.
In a way.
Yeah. It really isn't so much about how I feel afterwards, like, because I guess I don't really care what people think. I don't want to make them uncomfortable. I don't want to put people in a situation that they're uncomfortable to be in the room with me. I feel like that a lot with this ability, that people look at you differently and once they know that you're a psychic, then they think that you're reading their mind, or
Right.
that you know everything, or, ask you what the lottery numbers are. And it makes people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I get that. But I have to be who I am. I have to put my pride aside, and I have to be who I am, and
You
not
do,
let these things bother
because
me.
it's kind of just what it is.
Yeah.
It's like you were brought here for a reason,
Exactly.
with this gift for a reason.
That was
So
my point, yeah.
do you ignore it because it makes other people uncomfortable and then you're unhappy? And you're not out there picketing, in people's faces
Oh, no.
with this kind of pride and ego. You're simply, marketing yourself or promoting yourself within your own arenas,
Right.
making yourself available, and people come to you.
Right.
That's really it. I mean, there's not a lot of shoving anything down
Right.
anybody's throat at all.
No. And I think it's important, like, we have a lot of listeners that are building their abilities,
Mm-hmm.
that if you want to tell people, like in this situation, sometimes you will be pushed to tell people because there's a reason why, because they need to know.
Yeah.
This woman, she may come back to me, and there may be a reason why I told her. I don't know yet. Maybe she's lost somebody, or maybe
Right.
she could use some help. I don't know. I have no idea. I'll find out, I suppose.
Right.
But whatever it is, it's not personally about who you are as a person. If she's offended by the fact that I'm a psychic,
Right.
that has nothing to do with who I am as a person. And so I just want to pass that on to our listeners, because I know that.
Yeah, I think it's what you said was actually, like I said, kind of taking her feelings into consideration first, as
Right.
if like, okay, I don't want to offend somebody or scare somebody because of what I do.
Right.
But you can't stop being who you are.
No.
That would be like me saying, well, here we are every week, and I talk about this music that we're making constantly, and people are probably going, yeah, sure, right. But when they hear it, there's going to be a lot of people that probably like it.
Yes.
And there's going to be probably some people that don't like it.
Yeah, everybody's
Do
got
I
different
stop
taste.
because the people that don't like it is, you know what I mean?
No, that's a perfect analogy too. Yeah.
No, I keep going because I'm proud of it.
Right.
And I love it. And if it's bringing something, if we, as the band and the music, are bringing something to at least one person,
That's right.
then that's effective.
Right.
If it's thousands, that'd be wonderful.
Right.
But just one would be effective.
Yeah.
So I can't stop just because somebody doesn't like it. And people want to judge for a multitude of their own personal reasons
right.
that also involve these sins we're talking about.
That's right. Yeah.
And you have to separate,
That's right.
and say, okay, I can't be we are one, but you don't have to be one with that mentality.
That's right. Absolutely. You know what the opposite of pride is?
What?
It's humility.
It is.
And that's what we have to learn to practice in order to squash our pride.
Mm-hmm.
So I made a list of some things that a few websites said about how to do that, how to make yourself more humble.
Cool.
Let's see. Well, first of all, humility is freedom from pride or arrogance. Wouldn't that be nice to just not feel that? We're raised with that, and so we have to kind of squash it ourselves. It doesn't come naturally, and that does take time. Let's see. So, let's see. Where's my list of things that we can do? Hold on. Next page. All right. So, be aware, first of all. Okay. Recognize when you may be too prideful. And that really is, it's hard, admitting to somebody else is very, very hard, but I think there's something that admitting to yourself is even harder, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, once you can admit to yourself what's going on, it's easier to admit to somebody else.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
Yeah. Be open-minded. Being closed-minded, it shuts you out to a lot of things. It doesn't just hurt your pride, It just shuts you out completely.
I think that is just the key in general to a more successful, happy, inner peaceful life.
Yeah.
Is being open-minded.
Absolutely.
You've got to remember we are a society, a civilization that's evolving just like every other civilization before us evolved.
Right.
So we're going to learn things, and some of these things are correct, and some of these things are incorrect.
Right.
And the more open we can be to other information that might bring light to the situation, and actually might shed truth on it.
Right.
So.
Exactly. Let's see. Don't take yourself too seriously. Pride has a lot to do with fear of embarrassment or shame.
Yes.
Laugh at yourself. Admit you are not perfect and don't know everything.
Yes.
That is very hard.
Yes.
To laugh at yourself after you've done something stupid is very hard. Mm-hmm. But it is humbling.
Yeah. I know, even speaking again, like from a musical standpoint, like one of your biggest fears is, making a mistake. Mm-hmm. But sometimes those have happened to be what we call happy accidents.
Exactly.
And you're like, whoa,
exactly.
That was cool. Keep it.
Yep.
So even though it might have been an embarrassing moment, it actually turns out to be
right.
Something wonderful.
I've learned a lot on this spiritual journey about how to not let things affect me so much and how to not take things so seriously, like it says here, because that is somewhat your pride. Like, for example, you call me Magoo. Okay. My mom also called me Mr. Magoo.
Oh boy, here we go.
But, and you didn't know that she called me Mr. Magoo. You just started calling me that one day. And I used to get so mad at you. Don't call me that. But you know what? I'm sorry. It is true. And I know it's true. I've always known it's true. I'm just like Mr. Magoo. I can't see a damn thing. Even with my glasses at this point, I can't.
I'm always walking around picking up stuff after you. It's ridiculous. But that's because I love you.
And it's not on purpose either. It's really just... But anyways, it's a lot easier for me now that I'm just like, whatever. Just call me Magoo and get it over with. Because you're a Magoo as well, whether you want to accept it or not. But once you just kind of are like, it's fine. He's not making fun of me. He's not being mean. It's true. It is. I'm Magoo. It just feels better. And that may be a stupid example, but I feel like if you take whatever it is that irks
Embrace
you,
it,
and you look at it that way and you change the way that you view it, it does change, your level of pride and humility.
I can see that,
it's much better,
Yeah, it's sort of like kind of similar to the mentality of with like a schoolyard bully, you don't react.
Yeah.
And they get bored with that.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah. I think you get bored when you're picking on me and I don't react. Yeah, that's for sure.
That's funny.
Let's see. The last one on my list is listen and don't talk. Don't be a know-it-all. Really, sometimes we want to, especially like in an argument or where our pride is kicking in, we want to be the one to just talk. But sometimes if you just listen, even as much as what you're hearing may hurt your pride and humble you, it's healthy for that to happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree. I think kind of what I said last week, and that was if you're keeping yourself open to being teachable.
Yeah.
Because listening, you'll learn something. If you listen, you don't learn when you talk.
No, for sure. You don't. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So let's move on to greed, shall we?
Yes.
Okay. So first of all, what is greed? Greed is an intense and selfish desire for something, especially wealth, power, and possessions. I found this Gandhi quote. It's, "Earth provides enough to satisfy every man's need, but not every man's greed."
Yep.
And it's very true. Like, really, everything that we need to survive is here.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that we should just live off the land, everybody, and not, have these things, but there is enough to provide for everybody. That's key.
Yeah.
But I don't even know what the statistics are, so I'm not going to say. But there are so many people that are starving, that are homeless, and it's not necessary.
No.
If everybody just shared a little bit and wasn't so greedy, we could help a lot more. That's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, if we made humanity first before everything else.
Yeah.
Like make sure everybody's got somewhere to be and is food and taken care of, and then worried about the highways and the buildings and those other things, the I don't know if it's corporate, but, you know, that kind of world.
Yeah.
Or that arena, I think they would help us. They would see that they would help us more, or we would help ourselves more.
Right.
Because then we're putting love first.
Right, absolutely.
By taking care of the people first.
Right, absolutely. There were some examples of greed. And, you know, when you think about greed, you may think like that. I don't know. For me, I think greed is more of like trying to have more and more, and you want it all, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be about being rich.
No.
Black Friday is a greed.
Oh, yeah.
And that was on the list, and I was like, oh, yeah, it is.
It's a perfect example.
It's a perfect example. People will kill each other for the freaking TV that's like $100 off. Mm-hmm. Why? Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's sickening.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing.
It is embarrassing. It really is.
More so because it's happening in the country I live in.
Right.
It's embarrassing.
Right. Yeah. A few other things, like with greed, for, you know, if this is a problem or whatever, wanting it all, never being satisfied. Like, you always need the latest of everything, like the newest, the latest smartphone, the upgraded car, a bigger house. It's just never enough, never
Right.
being able to have enough. I get this, I don't sit still well. I like to move sometimes, and I'm in one of those modes right now. Mm-hmm. And it's not about needing more. That's not it at all. It's just needing like a change. But I understand what this is saying, because it's like, if I wanted to move and was looking at like a $3 million house that we can't afford because I really want this house, that's greed. You don't need it. What's it for? Do you know what I mean?
You and I even talked about possibly once Marina was out on her own, like maybe like a tiny house situation.
Right, for sure.
It could be mobile, but, you know, and other things like converting a bus or something.
Right.
But
greed comes in when you're like in your situation and you're not satisfied. Like, I'm satisfied. I'm perfectly content with our life. And that's my point. I don't want more because I'm not content. With somebody that has a lot of greed, when they get something that they want, it's still not enough.
Right,
they're never content. Yeah, they're never content. It's always, what's coming next? What's the next thing I can buy? You know, or whatever. And that's where it can kind of become, you know, it's not a sin because it's really, it doesn't fit. It's I don't know what you.
I wonder what is that? What is that? It's like the mind's way of saying, I can't accept that things will never be better than this. Like, this is just okay.
Yeah.
Where it is forever.
Yeah.
It's like certain minds can't accept that.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, there's...
And there is the need, like we talked about, where, you know, we're feeling that it's change for us as far as, like, location and where we live is coming. And we feel that.
You feel it, yeah.
We know that. And we're working towards it and been manifesting it and stuff. But that's a need for change.
Yeah. And
you could look at that even in what I was just describing as still... the mind saying, well, this isn't, it can never be good enough.
Right.
I need change.
Right, exactly.
So you can maybe obsess on the change part too. Or there's just, that's its way of fooling you.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah. I think there's a little bit of greed in, you know, every situation, maybe like that. I don't know. But for the most part,
I mean, you can see... it starts very young.
Yeah,
with
it does.
all of us when we see, and I can see it in our animals.
Right.
It's this thing. If you've got it, I want it.
It's funny. I actually was reading in one of these articles. It was like a story that this person was sharing about a situation where the child is opening, like he has a Christmas gift, right? 2-year-old opening a Christmas gift, but the child is tired, not even into it, like bored, you know, yawning. Oh, okay, great, another toy. But parents keep handing more toys, and then the kid's like, what? And more and more and more. Well, by the end of the presents, everything being open, the kid's like, more, and is totally ignoring what he already has, you know? The point being is, it's like, it doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't have to be in excess. It's, if you don't need it at that point, or if you don't, like this kid, he wasn't into it. Like, what was the point of pushing it on him?
It's not just about the unwrapping. It's about actual using what you have.
That's why, like, I'm totally about, instead of doing gifts, like, for Christmas and birthdays and stuff, I prefer to do trips or experiences, because I think it's better. It's, it's experiences. Things, they don't last.
No.
If I buy you something, you may not even like it.
Right.
But if we go somewhere, do something, it's a memory that we have, you know?
Yeah, that is a good way to value your money.
Yeah.
Your hard-earned money is to put it into memories.
Right.
And, when you think about if you were faced with a fire in your home, like besides the loved ones and the living beings in it, the one thing you're probably thinking about is like my pictures, my photos, because those are memories.
Exactly.
And so those really are the most important aspect of it.
Right.
As far as if you're going to be greedy about your memories. I want all my memories, but even as we get old, that's impossible to maintain.
Yeah. I'm not calling my mom greedy, but I've told you this story probably a million times, but we lived as a kid in a high fire area, and there was one time that we were evacuated, and I started throwing all the photo albums and pictures into bags. And that's what they told us to do in school. If you're ever faced with this, that's what you get rid of, or you get out. And that makes so much sense, right? My mom comes in my room and she's like, "What are you doing? We have to go." I'm like, "I'm getting the pictures." She's like, "Of all things, you're getting pictures?" And she made fun of me for years for that. Like I did something wrong. Like she got all of her jewelry and stuff, And I'm like, no, that can be replaced.
Yeah.
Like these pictures can never, ever be replaced. She didn't get it. And now I understand it more,
Yeah.
As a kid, you don't really understand, like, why would my mom be like, well, she didn't like pictures of herself, so it probably wasn't a big deal for her. But, it is greed. It is.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I mean, if you guys were all safe and I got like those kind of
then
things
you get
out, then I'd be like, okay, what guitar can I grab? Or
for sure. There's other things I would like to grab too, but yeah,
I would let certain things go.
Yeah, you start there.
I have a priority list.
Yeah, absolutely. Something else that fits into greed is breaking the law. Things like insider trading. You don't have to be a bank robber or a scammer to fall into this situation either. Shoplifting. It's like Winona Ryder. Remember when she shoplifted? I mean, the girl had so much money. She wasn't doing it because she needed the stuff, It's like greed.
Right.
It's just, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And she just had an issue, where it was like a personal thing that maybe gave her a high
exactly.
or something.
Yeah, exactly. So... yeah, that one kind of. So let's see. How much time do we have left? Oh, good.
Yep.
Okay. So we know what greed is. We all have suffered from it, I'm sure, occasionally, if not a lot. But what are some ways that we can try and help ourselves to overcome the greed so that we can live happier lives without all of that, I suppose? Number one on my list is give to others. I do this a lot, and I don't talk about it a lot. I only tell maybe a quarter of the time I do it, if that. Because it's not about other people knowing what you've done. It's about you knowing what you've done and that you've made that person's day maybe a little bit brighter.
Right.
It's like, okay, so let's say you go to the drive-thru and you order yourself an iced coffee. And I don't drink it anymore, but I think it was like $2.50 or something like that. And if I had a $5, I would just be like, apply the $2.50 to the person behind me. That may be the $5 I have, and so I don't have more to say, like, I'll cover the whole thing or whatever. But I don't need that $2.50. Right. I'm not going to suffer without it. And I'm not telling people that are, really tightly strapped for money to do stuff like this.
Right.
But if that $2.50 isn't going to hurt you, then pay it forward to somebody else.
Right.
Because that person might also pay it forward to somebody else.
And the amount doesn't really matter.
It does not matter.
It's the thought, and you can't value the thought.
No, you can't. It's just that feeling that you give somebody. Every time that it happens to me that somebody does something like that for me, my first thought is there's still good people in this world. And I think when more of us have those kinds of thoughts, it helps there to be more good people in this world, because the more good you do, the more good you put out, the more people want to do that as well.
Oh, for sure.
It just kind of comes with the territory. Let's see. Having a generous spirit and giving back to the world will pay dividends, is a quote that I read.
Yeah.
Which is true. You're going to feel better, and you're also going to get back. That's the law of attraction. Mm-hmm. You give and you get back. What
like, and I'm a sucker for it, but like we watch certain things, like not regularly, but when I've watched them throughout the years, like say Extreme Homes, where they give these families like, a home makeover or a brand new home or Undercover Boss.
That's what I was going to say.
As soon as you see this person's emotion for what they're being given.
Yeah.
The humility that comes over somebody.
Yeah.
That's realizing somebody's not treating them wrong or out of envy or greed or anything. They're actually giving.
Right.
It will melt any one of our hearts.
Yeah.
If it was done to us. The problem is it doesn't happen at this point like that for everybody in this world.
Right.
But it could, is what you're saying. It could start like this, like the movie Pay It Forward, like this chain reaction.
Right.
That it would start to create this to maybe a grander scale of what I was talking about a few minutes ago, and that is making sure that everybody in this planet is taken care of first.
Right. Exactly.
Before we start worrying about,
Right.
And that might seem like a huge pipe dream, but it's not impossible.
It's not. There's just too many people that are me. Yeah. It's all about me. And if you just take a little bit of that and put it towards somebody else and not make it so me, it feels good. It really does. It feels good to give to somebody that, can't give to themselves.
Right.
I mean, you have to, you can't let people take advantage of you. There is a line there, but helping others is very rewarding.
For sure.
Let's see. Remember those who have been generous to you. So not just in the fact of like giving back to them, but also like we were talking about, pay it forward. The other day I did a reading for a friend of mine, and I was just feeling really generous. I hadn't even left the house that day, and so I wasn't able to do anything else. And so she said, "How much do I owe you?" It was real quick, like 10-minute reading. I was like, "Nothing. Just pay it forward. Just do something nice for somebody else." Because you know what? I'm not putting any money into that reading. It's just my time. It's 10 minutes of my time. It's not a big deal.
Right.
So I'm making her happy by she doesn't have to pay for it, And then maybe one day I might need a favor. Who knows? And she might be able to help me or pay it forward back to me, if that makes sense. You know, that's how these things work and grow. What else is here? Let's see. You never know, because you could be the answer to somebody's problem. You really could. Even just a small thing. Like there's videos that we've watched of people contemplating suicide and just somebody yelling nice things to them. And, it's going to get better. It's just a bad day.
Yeah.
You just don't know how you could change somebody's day by being a little bit generous and kind.
Yeah.
Let's see. And you have to give with joy too. Like, you can't be giving because you expect back. It has to make you happy too, which I think is almost natural, or at least it should be.
It should be. Unfortunately, there are people that do that. And, I guess we would call it like Indian giving, or, like you give somebody something and there's an argument. I want that back. It's
right.
It now erases the intent, the positive intent and the love, and it just stops that energy from moving any further.
Right.
It just kind of drops and dissipates.
Yeah, for sure. Something else on my list, and this is something I think a lot of us forget, is that to remember that you can't take money and stuff with you when you die.
Nope.
You can't. And people are not going to be impressed by your money and your stuff when you die. My mom was one of the most giving people I've ever met.
Yeah.
And the things that people said to me were not about the things that they gave to her per se. It was just about her giving nature and how she could light up somebody's day with that, you know? Those are the types of things that people remember about you. They remember your generous nature. They don't remember that, you know, my mom had nice purses or beautiful jewelry. They don't remember that about her. They remember her giving spirit.
Yeah, your mom liked the look on people's faces.
Oh, yeah, she did.
That when she gave them something.
Yeah,
there was
she
something that she really loved about that.
Yeah.
You know?
She sure did. Let's see. Don't just live for yourself. You have to put yourself first, obviously, in some cases, but being just about you, that's not just the greed, but that's going back to pride as well. And, you know, I think we've all probably gone through situations in our lives where we've lost trust, or, you know, we are just with ourselves. Like when I was single, between my divorce and being in a relationship with you, I went through a period where I will say that a lot of these things I battled every day on a high level. And greed was one of them. Pride was another one. I was just really living for me and my brother. I was taking care of us and my dog, and that was it. And I didn't give a crap about anybody else because the world was against me. You know what I mean?
Right.
But then you come back, like, after something hard like that, and you come back to reality and realize that that doesn't feel good. That state that I was in, being greedy, being in it for myself, it doesn't feel good. I feel better now that, like, I'm back to, like, being myself, you know, and more giving and more like my mom was. And it just feels better, you know?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. I'm all teary-eyed.
It does, because when you wake up every day feeling like the world's against you,
yeah,
that's going to be your perception. And you're going to go to sleep feeling like the world's against you.
That's right.
But nobody is. You know, I mean, I'm not saying there isn't strife and fighting and people against each other, but there's a lot of love here that you can tap into.
Right.
That can change that perception. But
something about money and things is not just like we were talking about how there's enough for everybody, but also when you are more giving and compassionate, the universe returns things to you. It just does. There are so many things that I have wanted that have been given to me as gifts. Like people that are like, oh, I was given this. Would you like it? Because I don't like it. Or I bought you this because, you know, you're such a nice person or a good pet sitter or whatever. Yeah. Something that I really, really wanted that I had asked the universe for or whatever. When you do good and you put good out, those rewards kind of come to you.
Yeah.
It's amazing how that happens. And then I'll be honest with you, like for me, I just cherish those things even more.
Yeah.
Going out and buying them yourself is one thing. It's great. You know, you've earned your money, whatever. But to have, you know, a purse or a wallet or something that a friend's gotten me, and then I look at that and I remember that was a gift. That was a gift from my friend and from the universe, you know?
Right.
It changes things. It makes you look at things differently.
Yeah. And it holds a different value at that point, too.
It does. It does. Yeah. The universe has a very weird way of stepping in like that, too.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like, I was thinking about that for some reason. Like, a couple of the guitars I have, I bought what you would call a counterfeit. And so it looks like it's supposed to be a certain type of guitar, but it's really not.
Yeah.
But I had it completely gutted by my friend Gabe. And both of these, and kind of rebuilt. And even though they don't hold the same value as the real ones, which I do have also, it has a different value. It has a sentimental value because it feels like a connection, custom, but like a connection that I had with Gabe, where we were worked on that together. Well, he worked on it, but you know, it was just basically like my vision and, hey man, can you help me see this through? Yeah. And it was like we did it essentially kind of together, and so it pops up on memories and stuff, and he'll share it, and I was thinking about that one day. I'm like, oh, when it comes to like when I finally retire or whatever, and I'm just you and I and living in a little tiny house, I'm probably not going to need all these.
Right.
So which one will I want to keep? And I was like,
Right.
well, that one, I was thinking about them, like, well, that one's, at least one of those two are neat because they have like a different value.
Totally.
It's almost like they're almost as cool as the real one, and literally, figuratively, play as good as the real ones.
Right.
But they're different because it's something we did, So I
Yeah.
don't know. That was just a weird analogy I had in my head about it.
It makes sense. It's a different connection to it. It's a personalized connection to it. My grandfather always told me not to take pictures of things where there was nobody in the picture because you're not making a connection there.
Right.
And I never understood that until I got older, and I'm going through all these pictures that I took when I was a kid, and it's just scenery and there's nothing. And I'm like, I don't even know where this is. I get it. It gives it that memory, that special touch that is worth more than money. Mm-hmm. It is. That those memories, they're worth more than money. There's a lot of things. Honestly, money is the root of all evil, and it sucks that we even have to have it and that it has to make people so greedy because greed, I mean, really, like, pride is a problem, but greed is what makes a lot of people who they are and do bad things, and
it probably has more effect on the bad in the world, I think, than even the pride, like you said.
Yeah, it rips families apart. After my mom died, and my family was ripped apart mostly because of money stuff. Like, everybody's so money hungry, and I don't get it. I don't even want it in my life. It's like, it's not important.
No, and the bummer is that it's just a reality for all of us that it's required.
Yeah.
We have to have it in order to survive.
Yeah.
Some take it to a different level.
Yeah.
With their level of greed and how much they really require.
Right.
Or not require, want.
Want, yeah.
Because what you were talking about, like when the universe is providing, it's usually, I found, for me, mainly what I need. But often it is what I want too.
Absolutely.
But they usually give me what I need first.
That's right. Yeah. And sometimes it can end up being, what you need is what you need and what you want.
It's a little of both.
Right. Exactly. And a lot of times it comes at the time that it needs to come. Not maybe necessarily when you want it, but like we had a fridge that was just like, it was on the brink of, And we went out and we were looking at fridges, and the universe pointed us in the direction of the one we were supposed to have. Right. I'm telling you, it was like a gift from the universe that we were able to find this one. Yeah. But we needed it. We weren't out looking for refrigerators because, we bought one 2 years ago and we wanted a new one. We needed one so bad, and the universe stepped in and helped us. Yeah. So when you're patient and you wait for something to be a need instead of a want, a lot of times you get something better.
Right. And they can both like intertwine and be both, I guess. Because when I was right at the beginning of this, I guess, spiritual awakening for us, and you're kind of on this sort of like a high. It's like a honeymoon type of high. Like you're like, wow, man, like you're so aware and the reality of really what's going on that you can't see. And I remember I was trying to soundproof here in the studio as much as possible, and I needed just a little piece of like insulation, but I didn't want to buy a whole roll. Yeah. And we would go on walks in the morning, and these people were cleaning their house or something, and they had some junk just sitting out on the side to be picked up and thrown away. And there was one little roll of, like a cut-off roll of insulation, just sitting there. Yep. But I'm like, I'm going to do the right thing, and I'm going to let it tomorrow and see if it's still here. And it was there, and I'm like, okay, I'm taking it. We have a list of things like this that have happened, and I think that you can agree with me when I say that this is something that has increased tenfold since the spiritual awakening. Yeah. This is not something that was happening to us as much before. My mom's always kind of given me gifts and stuff since she passed, but it's pretty... Right. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot. That was the beginning. Yeah, that was the first sign. I remember even saying that to Tom, and Tom looked at me like, that's weird. Yeah. But then I start thinking about everybody or all the things, like, maybe even Milo, and that whole idea of like, that's the guy I want in this band. That is the guy we need in this band. And that is the guy we got in this band.
Yep, but it comes to you when it's the right time to come to you. It's the universe is a crazy place, and it really can help you in so many areas of your life if you allow it to. But you have to believe, and you have to give back.
Right.
Those are like two, I would say, wouldn't you? Like two of the biggest rules is that you have to give back and you have to believe. If you don't believe, manifesting, all that, the universe knows. It knows that you're like, oh yeah, I believe that you're going to help me with this. And it knows that you don't really believe. But when you put it out there and you just say, you know what, I trust.
Right.
I trust that whatever is supposed to be is going to be, and you're going to help me and whatever, and you let it go, that's when the magic starts happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's true. Try it.
Just push your pride and your ego out of the way first.
Yeah, exactly.
Because,
Yeah, and forget the greed.
Yeah, because you'll get what you need, always.
Always.
But you may not get what you want.
The universe, if you allow it to, it will always provide for you. You have to allow it to, though.
Yeah.
Really. Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's good.
Yay.
Bravo.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, before we say goodbye, would you like to share any information from your page?
Sure. You can find me and everything you need to know on my website, SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com. I've been getting a lot of emails through my page, and then I go and I return them, and people don't respond. So if you've sent me an email, know that I did get it and I did respond, but check your spam, because you never know.
Yeah.
It seems like maybe 1 in every 5 that I respond to, I get another response off. So I just want to make sure that people know that I'm returning them. Just check spam. And yeah, everything you can find on my website there.
Cool. Good.
Yay.
For me, djonesartcollection.com, and I have good information or news about that, is my store will be open and live tomorrow.
Yay!
So, long time coming, but finally here, finally ready. We'll have everything on there that you'll need to know. So, again, djonesartcollection.com. Monday morning, store goes live. It's open.
What is the date tomorrow? It is the 31st?
August 31st.
Yeah, so August 31st. It will be live.
You can also check out my art at D Jones Art Collection for Instagram and Facebook. And then for Gypsy Brown, it's gypsybrown.com from the web, at Gypsy Brown Music for Instagram, and at Gypsy Brown Band for Facebook. So, and we're just trying to set up some mixing schedules here pretty soon to go in and mix these and then start sharing them soon, I hope.
Yay.
Not I hope, for sure.
Yes.
But sooner the better.
Yep.
But we are moving.
Yep, we are moving.
And that's all I got.
Great.
So, but we hope you guys got something out of this.
Yes, we do.
And we'll do 2 more next week.
2 more next week. Cool. Yep. Which ones are they? They are Wrath and Envy.
Wrath and Envy.
Yep.
Cool. So, second segment of this series for the Deadly Sins, Wrath and Envy, next week.
Yes.
So, tune in if you want to check it out. Hope you guys have a great week.
Yes, we do.
Until next week, peace and love.